Oliver Twist, the eponymous main character of Charles Dickens' novel, also known as The Parish Boy's Progress, became famous for coming back and asking for more, and thereby incurring the incredulous wrath and anger of Mr. Bumble. Oliver only ate gruel and was undernourished, leaving him always hungry. Whilst we don't eat gruel, save the lower lessers of course, we are renowned for coming back for more. This is something which often puzzles our victims. When that individual eventually realises what has happened to them, and that they have been on the receiving end of a sustained period of abuse, and then a callous disengagement, their reaction is invariably one of, "Is it over?" Our victims are confused as to why it is that we return to them, why we do not leave that person alone. It is always the case that we will eventually have moved on to somebody new. Indeed, it is highly likely that somebody else was waiting in the wings, being prepared for their anointment as the intimate partner primary source, so that you, as the present incumbent, could be shed and erased from the records. The Queen is dead. Long live the Queen. The disengaged from predecessor is left to wonder why it is that we just don't focus on this new person and leave them alone to recover and tend to their many wounds. Surely we must be preoccupied with the new plaything. Here she is shiny and new. Can we not be satisfied with wrapping them in our illusions so that we have no need or desire to maintain your torment? Therein lies the key to understanding why it is that we keep coming back. It is a case of need and sometimes of desire. For all narcissists there is a need driven by the pursuit of the prime aims, and where it is the greater or the ultra, there is a desire to come back also, because the desire arises from a conscious awareness. Of course, our return manifests as the well-known Hoover, the attempt to assert control over you directly, and also potentially draw fuel from you, character traits and residual benefits. Invariably, when we return, it is of the benign variety, where, for instance, false contrition is exhibited in order to make you think that the narcissist recognizes the error of his ways, and that he wishes to change and make amends. Such an approach appeals directly to your good-hearted nature, your desire to see change and healing, driven by the emotional thinking, corrupting your empathic trait of the desire to heal and fix. The lesser and mid-range narcissists instinctively recognize this and therefore say such things about changing, particularly the mid-ranger. A greater or ultra may say it and will do so consciously. It might be the case that the narcissist even goes so far as to attend a session or two with a therapist or counsellor, but this is all part of the ruse, part of the facade, part of the veneer of apparent change. This attendance is done purely to enable us to show to the therapist how brilliant we are, that there's nothing wrong with us, and best of all to extract some fuel from them, to control them, and in so doing, we assert control over them by convincing them that there is nothing wrong. But that is a discussion for another occasion. The fact remains that the narcissist tells you these things for the purpose of asserting control over you and to suck you back in. We express this false remorse and promise the return of the golden period once more, and nearly always, unwittingly, you accept anything to make the pain go away, and perhaps, just perhaps, this time, things will be different. If your resolve holds and you do not respond favourably to this benign attempt to draw you back, then, to enable us to grasp you again, then with that lightning-fast vacillation, you know so well we will turn nasty. The malign behaviours appear as a shift with regard to the direct assertion of control, and we will lash out at you, exhibiting a continued cruelty towards you. Like everything else, it is the prime aims that is behind our hoovering of you, the need for fuel, the assertion of control. But surely we are receiving plenty of positive fuel from the newly duped and compliant, fresh intimate partner primary source, or maybe an intimate partner secondary source elsewhere. We are, and that wonderful admiration is providing lashings of positive fuel. But if you come up on the radar, if you put yourself before us and threaten our control, and provide us with the opportunity to obtain fuel from you, we will take it. If you can be contacted, then, when you come upon our radar, where you have put yourself in front of us, we will respond in order to assert that control from you. We are not just satisfied with drawing fuel and controlling this new shiny appliance, we must reinforce our control over you as well. If you are nowhere to be seen, you will invariably be left alone. But if you keep coming and putting yourself in front of us, challenge us in some way, then it is necessary for us to respond by asserting control over you. We will do so at first by being benign. Benign, it's nice to be nice, apparently. But then, if you will not back down, if you continue to threaten our control over you and indeed threaten control over the new intimate partner primary source by suggesting that you are going to expose our behaviours to them, then this threatens control and means that we will respond negatively. We will cause anger and upset, fear and frustration to underline the necessity of getting control over you. Extending that concept of resistance proving the font of the most potent of fuel, then when you've been disengaged from after abusive treatment of you, you are likely to want to stay away from us. Admittedly, that resistance may not be particularly high, given your addiction to the narcissist, and the reduction of your coping abilities, and the corrupting influence of your emotional thinking, but it remains all the same. In some instances, the nature of your resistance is heightened by a determined nature to stay away from us because you have received some enlightenment, and you wish to implement the awful concept, at least to us, of no contact. If you put yourself in front of us but try to resist the assertion of control, then overcoming it with benign or malign hoovering gives us all the more fuel indeed. It allows us to emphasize our perceived greatness so that we can treat someone terribly and then at a time of our choosing draw them back to us, or at least provoke some outraged or fearful additional response. That is power. The ability to treat someone so badly and then draw them back to us, or at the very least, cause them to react to our presence, underlines control. The prospect of flexing our manipulative muscles and the accompanying control and fuel it creates is always too great to pass over. Too often, our victims will hear nothing from us because there has been no Hoover trigger, or if there has, the Hoover execution criteria has not been met for a direct Hoover, and you have been smeared, triangulated, or we stayed in a position of withdrawal so you don't get to hear from us. And it causes you to think that we have moved on and that's the end of matters. It is true that our attentions will be on the new intimate partner primary source, but like the cruising shark, we sense the ripple caused by you dipping your toe back in the water, and if this ripple threatens our control, we will, invariably, should the circumstances allow it, head straight for you. It might be the fact that you feel sapient enough to walk past where we work again, so you enter a sphere of influence because we see you, or to reinstate your social media profile without blocking us. It could be that you attend a function where we will be as well. You may even send a message to us, wishing us well, exemplifying your forgiving and tolerant nature. All of these actions and more cause you to come up on our radar, and you prompt a Hoover trigger. Having done so, if the Hoover execution criteria are met, we will Hoover you. It may happen instantaneously or shortly thereafter, before the return occurs. As buoyed and triumphant, well fueled from our new acquisition, we aim to assert control over you and supplement that fuel by showing just how easy it is for us to control you. On the other hand, it may be months or even years before we return for more. You may have disappeared off our radar and proven impossible to contact, so that we have no choice but to stay in a position of withdrawal and dismiss you, that you were not important enough to deal with, and we press on with other victims, leaving you essentially alone. We never say never, though. Should you pop back up on our radar, come to our attention, or become contactable again, then we will be back for more. The fact of what has gone on before provides a bridge between us because in our minds, in our unconscious, you belong to us. We might have burned that bridge when we disengaged from you, but it will be hastily reconstructed in order to march into your territory once again and begin our occupation of you, and assert control over you and draw more fuel from you. With some of our kind, this need is accentuated by the desire to punish you. If you had the temerity to escape us and then raise the drawbridge, this amounts to a massive threat to our control. You have wounded us extensively. How dare you suggest that you are better than us? How dare you threaten our control in such a way? How dare you go off-piste and fail to follow our script? This ignites our fury and will result in a raging response in order to assert control and draw fuel from you straight away. If you manage to weather this initial Grand Hoover, do not think that our desire to punish you for your treachery will ever go away. It will manifest at some point. Even when we return, having pressed the reset button, you will do something which will result in you being punished. The greater and ultra of our kind, those of us motivated by a deep-seated malice, never forget your act of treason, and merely log it, ready to address it at a later juncture, issuing malign hoovers against you, embarking upon a malice campaign, wave after wave, because you have committed such offence. We are, of course, chained to you, permanently bound to you, and through this bondage, because of our need for control and fuel, character traits and residual benefits, it both delights and disgusts us inherently. I know that whilst I want to leave you in the dust because you failed me, because you're broken and defeated, I'm unable to do so, because ultimately I remain reliant upon you as a source of fuel. George Lee Mallory, the mountaineer, was asked, "Why did you want to climb Mount Everest?" Mallory answered, "Because it's there." Why do we come back for more? Because you are there, and you belong to us, and we can come back. Except, unlike Oliver, we never ask for more. We just take more.